7 o'clock, I'd like to call the school board to order. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So one of our most enjoyable parts of a board meeting is points of pride. Superintendent.
Okay, welcome everybody. We have the coach and some of the members of the indoor track and field, boys indoor track and field team. So if they could come up to the front microphone. Heather, you're allowed to join them too if you want. Just a parrot.
Guys, the mic in front of you, if you just push the little thing below, a little green light should come on.
So if you could each introduce yourselves.
I'm William Samard. I'm a senior from Francistown. It just stays on.
I'm Ross. I'm a junior. From Temple.
Head coach Cindy McLaughlin. I'm from Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Thank you. So I put together a little presentation, but afterwards they are here to add anything or answer your questions. So this year, the boys indoor track and field team won second place at the state champion out of 33 teams. I know. And it gets better. So our senior William is here tonight from Francistown. He won the 3,000 meters in 8 minutes, 42 seconds. I know. And he finished third in the 1,500 meters in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. And both of those were also school records. They also qualified William to go to New England. And we've learned that William's going to, in addition to this spring, hopefully next fall, he will be at UMass Lowell running. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Junior Ross Stevens from Temple won the 300 meter with a personal record of 35. Is it 35 seconds? Gosh, it just sounds crazy. Earning All-State, and this was also a new school record. No. Senior Max Dlofsky from Peterborough threw a shot put 43 feet and 2.5 inches, earning 6th place, and he's going to be continuing his throwing career this spring and then at Plymouth State University in the fall. And I brought, just for the board members, Larry Pimentel pulled a shot put. So I'm going to pass it around because it's really heavy. I don't think I could throw it 10 feet.
Cindy, tell them what the boys and the girls shot puts weigh.
Oh, yes.
The boys' shot put is 12 pounds and the girls is 8.8.
It feels heavier.
And they throw it over and over, and they practice, then they get 3 throws. I mean, Max, you guys know better, these two know better than me. And then if you continue on, keep throwing and throwing and throwing until, you know, the furthest person is thrown the furthest after 3 attempts.
A little late, bud.
It's a lot.
Senior Kendrick Edwards from Francistown finished second in the 55-meter dash with a personal record of 6.64 seconds. Also a new school record. And along with Samard and Stevens, Edwards earned the opportunity to compete in the New England Indoor Track and Field Championship, which took place on March 1st. Sophomore Griffin Schultz from Peterborough competed in the high jump, clearing 5 feet and 10 inches for a school and personal record. we have a quote from Cindy, the coach. This is a picture of them all at States, correct? And that they're looking forward to. I think the boys taking home the runner-up plaque is making them realize that they could take it all this spring. To be great.
I do, yes, and I'll be back.
We just had another one of our coaches.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Hi. Evan Cohen. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hi. Oh, hi. My name is Evan Cohen, assistant coach for the track and field team.
Great. And then this is a picture of the team at the awards banquet. And we were actually going to do this presentation last time, and then it wasn't going to be online, and it worked out perfectly because they could all come tonight. But it also gave us a chance to get some of the results from New England's, which happened on March 1st. So William came in sixth with a time for 2 miles of 9 minutes. I couldn't even run 1 mile, and we're very impressed. And so this is the third season, right, that you've gone to New England's?
No, first time ever.
Oh, in New England, it's the earning all New England.
I went outdoor last year in track, and then this year in cross country, and then now in indoor. So 3 in a row.
You three-peat.
Great.
Yeah, you did three-peat.
I did.
The Chiefs did not three-peat, but William did.
Nice. So I'm going to turn it over to you to share anything that you'd like to share. I know you have and certainly if anybody has questions.
I love to talk about track. You know, I'm just so impressed with these guys. They worked really hard and they deserve it. That night of States, it was a snowstorm, and I know everyone was pretty nervous about getting us back to Conval, and we were tied for first place, and we didn't have any relays going on that night. And we said, well, we probably should stay because we're probably going to be the runner-up. So the guys got the opportunity to stay and enjoy their moment. You know, these moments don't come around every day, but it was such a great moment for them. I mean, William, state champion, 3,000 meters. Ross, state champion, 300 meters. I mean, it's just very impressive. We have a great team. We have a lot of great athletes, even moving forward with spring. We set 5, 6 school records this indoor season. So one of the things that we were looking into is establishing an indoor track record board. We've looked into it to try to replicate the outdoor board that we have. It's pretty expensive. It's about $2,200. So we are looking forward to doing some fundraisers in the spring. Once the weather breaks, maybe we can do like a 50-50 raffle, a fun run. I was thinking maybe like a lapathon or something like that. Like I would run all night for these guys. So it's just, you know, very impressive. And their records, I feel, should be up there for everyone to see. And, you know, for the next person, years down the road, you know, maybe we'll break. But, you know, super proud of these guys. They worked really hard.
What would you guys say to inspire the next generation of runners?
I would say that I don't know, that I think this school creates better athletes than I think some people may put it out to be. Like we have good like good soccer teams, we have good basketball teams, we have good wrestling teams and stuff like that, but I think all of the school's best athletes, in my personal opinion, have all been runners, I think, or track athletes. I think on an individual standpoint, but we've also had some really, really, really good teams as well. So I think that understanding that, you know, Conval's had a good history in this sport. I think if you're someone who's in like 8th grade going to be a freshman and you don't know if you're going to do like cross country or something like that. I mean, I was in the same position, but I switched after my freshman year, I quit playing soccer to run. I think I understood that this school had really good runners, so I was like, I think it's beneficial to be a part of it and try to be, and to kind of like carry it on, to say, I guess.
Do you want to pass around the award?
I
Rob?
just have something I'd like to say. Principal McGillip and I run many road races.
Oh.
So what do you say, you two guys, meet us at the track, 2-person relay, winner goes home with the trophy, okay?
When the snow melts, yeah.
So I'm going to make a suggestion here. I don't think you should have to fundraise to put a plaque up to recognize what you've done. I think that is something the board can take an effort to find the funds to get that plaque made and put up for you. I think that's the appropriate thing for us to show you that the effort pays off and you get recognized by those who support you. So I will give that charge to Budget and Property and say, by the end of this year, see if you can't find the money to get that plaque up in the high school before these young men leave this year so they can see their names up. I walk in that gym and I look at that plaque and I see some names that have been there for a long, long time. It'll be interesting to see if these names stay up there for a long, long time, and I got a sense they probably will. So as you will know, as you get later on in life, that you think it won't matter. There'll be days that people come back and they'll look and they'll remember. We're very proud of you. I'm sure you're proud of what you've done, and we're grateful for your representing Conval the way you did. You are certainly an outstanding example of what a student at Conval High School looks like, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much, and we're going to see that that plaque gets put up for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Frederickson, you have a charge.
For the record, Budget and Property wrote it down before he mentioned it.
Yeah, they broke, so 3 boys out of the 5 on that team broke 6 records this indoor season alone. So, and that's according to athletics, so that's, Cindy knows that, and that's really all we have. It's either mile split or athletic, or the 2, international timing, throwing, jumping, you're not a jumper, but companies that we have that keep track of these records forever. So that's what you have to go back to compare it to. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. 5 kids from a trophy.
Thank you. Anything else, gentlemen?
I have nothing.
That's great.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here.
Thank you for
Greatly
coming.
appreciate it.
I don't know if I have anything to say. I mean, are there any other questions? I mean,
No Thomas on.
yeah.
Right?
Mm,
Oh yeah, what's the goal?
I don't know. We're not done. I still have a year left. I mean, we'll see.
These 2 are qualified and they will be running I can only speak for the 2 that are here, my kid and Ross. They will be competing at New Balance Indoor Nationals at the track at New Balance, if anybody knows about that track. It's pretty amazing. In Boston, in which distance, William, for you?
I'll be in the 5K.
So he'll compete at the 5K national level in Ross.
And I will be in the 400 meter.
So a chance to be recognized as All-Americans, depending on where they place in their races in the next couple weeks.
Keep us updated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Heather.
I just wanted to mention, while it's so impressive, the awards that you have won, I was fortunate to meet the New England in Boston this weekend, and what really struck me was the amount of sportsmanship and support that they not only had for each other, but fellow runners in the future. I mean, Ross, I think I was saying next to you in Kendrick, and we were yelling so loud, I could hear my eardrum, and it wasn't for a Conval student. It was for another runner in New Hampshire that they were really excited about. So, besides doing so well athletically, just the representative school, time giver, everyone just really made an impression.
Thank you all.
We're very
Enjoy your
proud of
evening.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, I believe you have something you'd like to share.
Yes, I have a point of pride. Over the weekend, Hancock had a Meet the Candidates forum, and a wise man once told me the best way you can convince a crowd is with the help of a student. That was Dick's advice. So I asked one of our local high school students who lived in Hancock to say a few words, and she told me I can mention her name. Hannah Daniels from Hancock spoke to the crowd, and I received this email. I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit of this. Yesterday at a candidate forum in our town, a young woman, a senior at Conval, spoke eloquently about her experience in the district that stretched from preschool to the present. She told us how Conval had shaped her with challenging advanced placement courses, the strength and confidence she gained from being part of a sports team, mastering a foreign language, 5 years of German, and that she will be getting to use that on a trip this spring. She's had enhanced biology with hands-on, and she's enriched biology with hands-on work in Belize, learning the joy of making art with the help of her ceramics teacher, and so much more. She looks forward to a career in healthcare as a therapist helping others. These are the kinds of things we don't always hear about, but that's a convincing story to help pass the budget, teacher's contract, and anything else that people would like to support. Thank you, Hannah Daniels, if she's out there.
Thank you. So a couple other things. On a couple of occasions, I've shared a story with the board members and sometimes at a forum about a student at SMS years ago when they had clubs, and this student happened to be a member of the Green Eggs and Ham Club, and it was a 4-H group that raised chickens. And when students had joined a club, they usually get a sweatshirt and they get their club name on it and their name on it, and they wear it when they come to school. And this little young 5th grader came home, held up her sweatshirt in front of her mother and said, "Look, Mom, I'm somebody." So being recognized is so important, to be seen as somebody. So tonight, I just want to share with you a Green Eggs and Ham story. I've been coming to this room for well over 40 years, and I never noticed that there was no nameplate there for Brenda Marshak, administrative assistant. So I brought it up to Tim Grassi, he got one made. So I can say tonight, Brenda Marshak, you are somebody. And last, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Alan Ellikine for his almost 6 full years of serving on the Conval School Board. I hadn't known Alan before this opportunity. We met and became friends, and I've gained great respect for his insight. His work ethic is unbelievable. And so tonight will be Alan's last board meeting, but I know him well enough to know that he will be online watching. So when we thought about what can we do to recognize Alan, I said, well, knowing Alan, he'll be sitting there in front of his screen watching board meetings, and so that he can stay warm and snuggly in the next few days after this heat wave, cuddle up with this. It's a Conval blanket, and we'll be thinking of you as you tune in to everybody that's here. So thank you, Alan. All right, we have approval of the manifest, please.
I certify that the manifest listed below totaling $1,999,691.93 has been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Kentucky Valley School District for goods and or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
Motion to approve.
I move that we approve the manifest.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Thank you very much. It's this point at our board agenda that we provide public comment. If there's someone in the audience who would please come forward, your name, the town you're from. We allow up to 30 minutes for public comment. We keep each comment to 2 minutes. So if you would please come up, give us your name, your town, and we'll try to keep things to 2 minutes, please.
I thought it was loud enough. My name's Johanna Maxwell from Greenfield. I'm here tonight to speak to the board about putting students first. And it might be more accurate to say that I've experienced a situation where we're not putting students first. In the last week or so, a decision was made with no regard to how the football
team and or the football community that is outstretched feels about that decision. A decision that doesn't affect you and it doesn't affect me, but it directly affects the students, the student athletes. We have failed them. We have failed at putting them first and how they might feel or be affected by this decision. That's what we're all here for, right? For the better, for what's best for the students, what's best for the community. We are Conval. That is our mantra. We're not following it. It impacts these students well beyond just after school practice. This is a decision that has affected them personally. It has affected their future goals. I know that they are feeling lost, that since this decision, their team workouts that they would go 3 nights a week on their own personal time to get together as a team and work towards the future season. That has ceased. Their team chat group that they have online, radio silence. They don't know how to react to this. They're young men that have lost somebody that they looked up to, that they turned to. The entire football team and community is crushed by this decision. 2 minutes is out.
No, it's 2 minutes, but
Oh,
go ahead,
okay.
finish up if you have.
High school is I'm an educator. I'm fully aware of all the developmental stages, and high school is a pivotal time for these young men. It's when the kids set the stage for their future. They're thinking about what's ahead. And a coach can be fundamental in this. Brad Davis is not just a coach. He is a mentor, an incredible role model. These boys look up to him and are even questioning whether or not they want to play a sport that they have, my son in particular, has spent 4 years playing. He had future goals to play college football. And that's because of Brad. He has mentored him in believing in him that he can do it. And without him, he's thinking he might not play next season. And that will be on us. That will be on you. This is the second time this school year that the school board has disregarded and not listened to the students, the student athletes in particular, and the community of the Conval School District. We are Conval, right? That is what our mantra is. But yet it seems that our word, our voice is not being heard. Please, for the students in the community, reconsider and recommend and or approve Brad Davis as head coach for the Conval Cougars football team.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes. Please try to stay to 2 minutes, please.
Close. My name is Erin Michaud, and I am from Peterborough. Have you been to Conval recently? Have you attended a sports game? I have to believe you haven't. Because if you have, you would know that there's a wall of fame for alumni. My picture is not there. None of your pictures are there. Do you know whose picture's there? Brad Davis's. Have you spoken personally with an athlete that has been impacted by Brad Davis's coaching? I have. I live with one. Has anyone asked Larry, our athletic director, how many complaints he receives about coaches? He receives lots. Do you know who he has never received a complaint about? Brad Davis. Brad has been an assistant coach with the varsity football team for 3 years. He has also revived the dying middle school football program to help develop young players because he knows football is more than a game. To be passed over as head coach without so much as a second thought is wrong. You know it. I know it. The community knows it. I read today the departing words of one of your own. A school board member must remember whom he or she represents. The board has heard from the community that elected them. Brad Davis deserves and has earned the right to lead Conval football into its best chapter yet. A grave error has occurred, and we need to make it right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the board at this time? All right, thank you. Student Representative Ryan.
So this past week we had break. But before that, on Friday, we had our unified game, staff versus the unified team, where the staff lost, of course, to the unified team. We also got to have some fun games, and it was definitely one of the more energetic events that I've seen at Conval this year. We had 2 kids make the half-court shot, which was very fun. And then we had relay races and other stuff like that, and everybody was just having a blast at that event. The senior Conval scholarship has been open, so any seniors should try and get on top of that and fill it out as soon as possible. The boys basketball team is playing tonight. They're competing in the first round of the state tournament at Sanborn. The tip-off was at 6:30. And then a student in Miss Tebb's art class, I believe AP Art, got awarded 3 gold keys in the drawing and illustration for the Scholastic Art Awards, and also got best in show for the drawing and illustration, and I believe it's going down to compete farther. So, and it's gorgeous piece of art. So that's the big things that's been going on. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. And so the audience knows, we always tell Ryan that he can leave whenever he chooses. And same thing's true for you high school students. We know that you have classes tomorrow, so feel free to go when you think it's necessary. And same thing's true for Ryan. So. That we followed through on this weekend. Well, I do. I thought you were going to, but I'll be more than glad to do that. Okay, so it's okay. So as you know, we had 9 public hearings in 9 communities. The turnout depended. We had some strong evenings and weaker evenings, and numbers who participated. Sharon was a test of the board. Their town hall had no heat, so we had a chilly evening, but again, we had people participate, and we got lots of information back from the community. I think the board has done a great job to try to get the word out on where we stand on the petition warrant article, and we did that in all towns. There is real effort that's been made by this board to try to reach out to the community as often as we can to share where we are in our thinking and our thoughts. So I thank the board members who came. Some nights were chilly. I thanks for the commitment, because it was 9 nights, and on top of all the nights you put in and the hours you put in, I don't think that the public understands, and nor did I as an administrator in the district, the number of hours that school board members put in behind the scenes. Believe me, it is astronomical, the hours they put in. It's amazing. So I know we have people in the audience who are running for board positions next year. You'll know that it's a big time commitment, but it's well worth it. So later on, we'll have you introduce yourselves when we have our candidates for chair and vice chair speak. So at this point, Curtis, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks. I will also add my thanks to everybody who joined us at one of the 9 public hearings. It was a very good opportunity for us to have some difficult conversations and be present with one another. The Selectmen's Advisory Committee met last Thursday, We recapped the deliberative session as well as the public hearings. We also had a very robust conversation around how our district is impacted by the decisions and legislation that's coming out of Concord. There is a broad will amongst the selectmen to be involved, and I hope that the next communications committee can work to keep us informed and to keep the selectmen informed on the challenges that we are facing at Concord. Thanks. I read the minutes when they're available. Should be good. Yes, communications met last Tuesday and again this morning. Last week, we put a video out. It is up on our YouTube, the Conval Events YouTube channel. The video is exactly what we presented at the public hearings. I encourage you all to watch it. We've shared it as widely as we can. We've also been reviewing the work we've done this year and been brainstorming on how the next committee can be better. And if anybody around this table has any suggestions, or anybody watching has any suggestions for how we as a board can communicate better, we are all ears. I also have a statement to read regarding two recent letters addressed to the board relating to the withdrawal of Francistown and Dublin. The first letter was authored by the Francistown School Committee and dated February 25th. This letter was sent to board members via email, and it was also published in the Ledger transcript. The first point their letter makes is to assert that Conval has refused a meeting with their school committee. To this point, I will note that we have had 6 months of discussions during the feasibility study. We had discussions during the community forum, and we had discussions when representatives from Francistown have come to committee meetings. Negotiations can only begin should withdrawal be approved by a district-wide vote. In the event this occurs, the Francistown Independent School District would form a school board, and negotiations would begin between the Conval District and the Independent District. In response to this letter, I also need to go back and again address the process of withdrawing from an SAU. Withdrawal from an SAU is its own distinct vote that would happen following the creation of a multi-district SAU. It would be the responsibility of the district's town or towns to choose to bring that forward, and this is an important distinction. I acknowledge that the Francistown School Committee has at this late date formally declared their intention to withdraw from the SAU, but they have not put forward a plan or a budget to do so. They did not state this intention within their withdrawal plan. The Francistown Minority Report did budget an estimated amount to compensate for the Conval District's added SAU costs. Ultimately, the inclusion of this amount would be negotiated by future boards should withdrawal pass. I noted in my presentation at the community forum that Mason, whom Francistown cited as an example of an independent SAU, had an additional 15 non-grade level teaching staff positions above what Francistown's withdrawal plan currently budgeted for. The degree to which Francistown's proposed budget would translate into covering the cost of running an independent SAU is unknown, as there is no plan. Ultimately, this would be decided by the people of Francistown, should their withdrawal pass. If Francistown's voters won't be informed of the costs and structures of this aspect of their proposed district, we must consider and weigh the possibility of their remaining in the multi-district structure. Considering the withdrawal from the SAU at this moment is putting the cart before the horse. The second letter received by the board was authored by the Dublin Select Board. The first point their letter makes is to assert that Conval has refused an invitation to meet with them regarding withdrawal. To this point, I will note that we have had 6 months of discussions during the feasibility study. We had discussions during the community forum. We've had discussions when representatives of Dublin have come to committee meetings. Negotiations can only begin should withdrawal be approved district-wide. In the event this occurs, the Dublin Independent School District would form a school board and negotiations would begin between the Conval District and the Independent District. This letter also points to numerous requests made by a Dublin representative to the feasibility committee for the source data used as a basis for our calculations. A right-to-know request was submitted by this representative in October of 2024, seeking a copy of the line item 2024-2025 district budget and projected revenues. That right-to-know request was filled on the same day it was received. Both letters we received cast numerous aspersions as to the accuracy and integrity of the data we have presented. To these points, I will ask our Chair of Budget and Property, Jim Frederickson, to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. This statement is regarding the Francistown School Committee letter dated February 25th and Dublin Select Board letter dated February 27th that I received this afternoon. My remarks were prepared for the Francistown letter, but there are many similarities and several points that are made in both letters that are word for word exactly the same. For the record, I would like to take a few moments to address this recent letter sent by our superintendent and the entire school board by the Francistown School Committee. That letter was recently published as a viewpoint in the Monadnock Ledger transcript on Thursday, February 27th. Dublin's recently received letter is also dated the 27th. It was written to us in, quote, an open public fashion because of the urgent need for accurate, clear, and transparent information for the voters of the Condell School District prior to the March 11th vote, unquote. I now feel my own urgent need to respond in the same way tonight because the letter includes some inaccurate, confusing, and frankly disappointing statements. The letter said, and I quote, "We can only speculate that the latest round of conflicting data put out during the forum is intended to confuse and mislead the public," unquote. It goes on to address the assumed increased costs of the SAU and stated that, and again I quote, "These SAU costs were inflated to a perplexingly high incremental cost of approximately $1.5 million explanation," unquote. That statement generated a high degree of perplexity for me personally. Maybe scratch my head and think, W Whiskey Tango. As a part of the feasibility study, I developed and shared a model that would accurately calculate the apportionment of any changes to the SAU and Conval operating costs as a result of withdrawal by Dublin or Francistown or both. Anyone vaguely familiar with this district tax apportionment process will understand that this is a complex model with many moving parts, so to speak. But it is accurate and has served its purpose to provide the ability to estimate the impact of any of the many possible withdrawal scenarios on individual towns. When I prepared and distributed the model, I cautioned everyone the model needed good inputs or the results would be useless. And there are many possible inputs, some of which will have a bigger impact than others. Assumptions regarding tuition paid to Conval is clearly one of the more important. Another input that will have a much lower impact on your taxes is the estimated cost of running a multi-district SAU. These SAU costs were originally prepared by the SAU business manager and were the subject of discussions during feasibility committee meetings. The initial SAU cost estimate was developed last June and was admittedly incomplete. It was basically a list of positions with salary information crudely divided between the post-withdrawal districts. It did not include benefits or any of the additional resources that would be required to manage the finances of more than one district. It also did not include any overhead like lights or heated office space for those individuals. All those needed to be factored in. Over time, both that estimate and the model itself were refined. Updates were shared with members of the feasibility committee, including 2 representatives on that committee from Francistown. Absolute and complete transparency. When the feasibility committee was officially disbanded in September, the estimate for a multi-district SAU stood at $2.07 million. $219,000 more than the current SEU, not 1.5 million more. Not 1.5 million more. 200,000. This past January, Friday the 28th to be exact, as we were preparing for the deliberative session on the 4th, the community forum on the 12th, and the 9 separate public hearings we were required to hold for the petition warrant article, a working group consisting of myself, Curtis Hamilton, Jim Kingston, and our superintendent, Dr. Ann Forrest, made a final attempt at refining some of the cost estimates associated with withdrawal. Dr. Forrest had taken a different approach to the SEU costs than the original built-up approach. She put all of the so-called headquarter costs on a table and took out any costs that should not be shared with the other districts if we moved to a multi-district SAU. After a bit more scrubbing, we arrived at an estimate of $2.79 million for the multi-district SAU. The SAU estimate in the model was $2.07 million. Why the $700,000 disconnect? A quick review of the SAU cost inputs to the model revealed an inadvertent error in one of the many calculations. One formula used in the calculation was not capturing almost $1 million in FICA, New Hampshire retirement, and health and dental benefits for the SAU employees. That calculation in the model was corrected, and we then decided to continue to use that estimate for the withdrawal presentation, rather than replace with a new and unexplained estimate for the charts used at the deliberative session in the community forum. What is most perplexing, given the letter recently received from Francistown, is that this updated model was shared with Francistown after they requested it the day after the deliberative session. I sent the updated model on Saturday afternoon, the 8th of February. Later that same evening, I followed up with an email that specifically mentioned that the updated model included an update to the SAU costs. The forum discussion led to a letter was held on Wednesday, February the 12th. At the forum, they publicly acknowledged both receipt of the revised model and the error, which I openly disclosed from the stage during the forum. After I received the letter from Francistown, I revisited the model and found another error I had made, which will have a minor impact on the charts Curtis used at the forum. So we have 3 estimates for a multi-district SAU. Dr. Forrest is $2.783 million, $3.088 million from SAU 13, and $3.012 in the model. Not quite close enough to call a perfect 3-point navigational fix in Navy terms, but close enough in this now very public game of verbal hand grenades we seem to have entered into. Our estimate is in the right ballpark, Fenway Park, not Yankee Stadium, where the perplexingly high incremental cost of approximately $1.5 million without explanation would take us. In any case, that final correction in the model would have had minimal impact on the point Curtis was trying to make, that the increased tax burdens in the town remaining in Conville, if we move to a multi-district SAU, will range from 6.6 to 7%. I have written a more detailed explanation of these changes to the SAU estimates and the model calculation errors. That explanation includes revisions to the numbers used at the community forum. That explanation, Dr. Forrest's estimates of the multi-district SAU costs and the updated model are all public information. They can be sent to anyone that asks for them. They will be part of our response to both Francis and Doubletown's Freedom of Information request. I now publicly apologize once again for the inadvertent calculation errors I made. I only wish the folks of Francis and Doubletown had done their homework before casting aspersions on mine. Thank you.
Any questions from board members? Thank you, Jim. Consent agenda. About the calendar?
Want to improve the school board minutes?
Yes. And any questions on the minutes or the job descriptions, new hires? All right.
Well, I'll give information about the job description is for the district technology specialist. We were just looking at it and a lot changes in technology. And so it was just time to update that. So it's just an updating of that. The new hire, it's my great pleasure to introduce Neil Cass, who's in the audience here. Neil, applied and we interviewed for the business administrator position. He has been the town administrator for Hopkinton for the last 15 years. Before that, he was the town administrator for Antrim, and before that, Limeboro. So he brings a wealth of knowledge and skill that he's honed, and skills that directly will benefit the BA position in Conval. Neil is also a community member. He lives in Hancock, and he's a Conval grad. He's the dad of 2 Conval grads. And when I called his references, the common theme across everyone was his strong character and his incredible work ethic.
Mr. Cass, would you like to come up and share with us? Good evening, Neil.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks.
Is there anything you've
Any question from board members? No, well, there is a number of us. Dan?
Is there any chance we can carpool and save a few bucks, Neil?
As long as you come in early in the morning.
We had candidates, 2 candidates we interviewed, and there's no question on the committee that what we're looking for was represented by Mr. Cass, and we were thrilled that he could be on board. He brings a lot of knowledge of working within municipalities. He's friends with and familiar with many of the town administrators, and we're looking to develop that relationship within the Conval School District. So we're thrilled to have him on board. He's a Conval guy. He lives here, and I think it's so important to have our employees living within the district, and we're glad to have you, Neil, and thank you very much for accepting.
Thanks. I'm very excited about that. And I will, once I come on board, will have to resign as the moderator because there would be a conflict. So I will do that.
Thank you, Neil. Any question for board members? All right. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for being here. You have your March enrollment. Any questions on enrollment? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Okay, monthly. So my understanding is we're not going to add any new committee dates right now because we're going to wait for the vote, elections. Yes, Jim?
I'd like to suggest we tentatively schedule a budget property meeting for 13th of March, 2 days after the election. If the budget passes, we'll cancel the meeting. But if it doesn't pass, we'll probably need to start talking about default. Does that make sense?
Well, what I can share with you is that the new chair should be consulted on when you meet. So I think you can probably put that down as a thought. But committee assignments and those kinds of requests go to the board chair. The board chair assigns committees. It's the prerogative of the chair to assign committees, to assign chairs to committees, and so I'll leave that up to the new board chair on how he plans on dealing with that. But if Mike is okay with tentatively having something on the 13th, if you'd rather wait, we can just wait because you'll have your election on the 11th. I don't know what that gives you time enough to reach out to board members to say what they might be interested on, or so.
I'd like to get something scheduled, though.
Say again?
I think we should get something scheduled either the 13th or the 20th.
Well, I'll leave that up to the new chair to decide how to do that. That's not my call at this point. So,
Yeah, we don't need to decide tonight. I just want to get that out there. I think we've
yeah,
talked.
well, I think you can move on it as soon as possible, but I'll leave that up to the new chair. That's an important role. Other questions on the calendar? Janine?
Do we want to try to reschedule policy? Like maybe Thursday the 6th? Aaron is available. Are you available?
I'm not this Thursday.
And then in the week to week. So, the other dates that Aaron was available for them, it was from after the election. So, it's a wait.
I would encourage you to wait till you can get your new committee assignments. So, okay, thanks.
I do have, the only other date is, as was brought up earlier, we received letters from Francistown and Dublin, and within that, there was a right to know request. I have partially responded to it. One of the things that they've asked for is documents that include supporting data and calculations behind the community forum presentation. So I have shared Jim's most updated models, the spreadsheet that Jim referred to that I put together that we worked on as in a work session. So I've shared the pieces that I think are most relevant to the numbers that were presented, but the right to know requests includes a few things, and I just want to go through them because I have to make sure that we completely compile them all. So if anybody has anything that fits into these categories, emails or other documents, if you could make sure that you forward them to me by Thursday so that I can at the latest get a complete meet their request on Friday. So it's documents that include supporting data and calculations behind the community forum presentation, documents that include assumptions used to calculate incremental SAU costs, documents that include data solely attributable to impacts related to the withdrawal of Francistown, documents that, and we have gotten the same letter from Dublin, so all of these things for Dublin also. Documents that include notes and records that the district's Budget and Property Committee, including the committee chair, participated in generating, and documents that include notes and records that the district's Budget and Property Committee endorses the data presented. So we've started to pull meeting minutes, we've pulled some emails, but I just wanted to put it out that if anybody has any additional information that fits in with any of these categories, you need to forward it to me. Even if you think, oh, well, it's already covered in something else, that's the right to know is we just have to produce all the documents that we have related to this. So.
Any questions
Thank
from board members? Okay. Thank you, Ann. Any other questions? All right, we have a request to accept some gifts. Great Boat School requests the authorization to accept a check in the amount of $700 for the purpose of a sponsorship for 2025 8th grade students to attend Washington, D.C. trip from Amy Odell Wilson, LLC. Could I have a motion?
I move that we accept the request to accept a gift donation from Amy Odell Wilson to Great Brook for the proposed usage.
Could I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, with gratitude. South Meadows School requests authorization to accept a check from Janine Lester in the amount of $900 for the purpose of providing financial assistance for families of students that cannot afford the cost of participating in the American Heritage Tour trip to Washington, D.C. Could I have a motion to approve?
I move that we accept the request from Tim Conway to accept the gift from Janine Lesser on behalf of the students participating in the trip.
Could I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Without seeing any, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, with great gratitude. Thank you, Janine. Conval High School Athletic Department requests the authorization to accept a check from Special Olympics New Hampshire in the amount of $500 for the purpose of supporting United Sports Program. Could I have a motion, please?
I move that we accept the proposal from Conval High School Athletics to accept the gift from Special Olympics New Hampshire in the amount of $500 for supporting the Unified Sports Program.
Can I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions, with gratitude always. Field trip request. South Meadow School, grades 5 through 8 students will be traveling to the Special Olympic Winter Games at Waterville Valley on March 3rd through the March 5th. We need board approval. Could I have a motion to approve their field trip?
I move that we approve the field trip to
Can I
the
have a second?
Special Olympics.
It's been moved and seconded. All overnight trips have to be approved by the board, and this being brought for us for that purpose. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, and by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions, thank you. Conville High School, grades 9 through 12, students will travel to the Special Olympic Winter Games at Waterville Valley, March 3rd through the 5th. Could I have a motion to approve this field trip?
I move that we approve the Conval High School field trip to the Special Olympics Winter Games.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, and by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Thank you. At this point, the board has asked the future chair and vice chair to speak to the board and to future board members. If the future board members would indicate who they are and what town they're from, and then I'll have Mike and Curtis speak to you all. So just come up to the front if you want to sit at the front table and tell us who you are. We'd appreciate it. Sure, yeah, I'll come right up, please. Please push the, thank you very
Yep.
much. Yep, that's so people can hear you at home.
Yeah, I'm Victoria. I'm from Greenfields, running for the position there.
Thank you.
Sarah Edmonds from Antrim, running for the 3-year position there.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Carl Mabzino. I'm from Peterborough and running on that position.
Thank you.
John Wood from Dublin.
Thank you. So I think what I will do is I will start with Mike. You running for chair for next year? If you would like to speak to the board, please.
Thank you. Because of the importance of this position, I felt that I should give you a little bit more background about what I bring to this position. Obviously, I've mentioned that I've worked in the Franklin school system for approximately, with an asterisk, 40 years. So I'm not going to go through all 40 years for you and bore you with those details. But just so you know, I did start out in Franklin and worked at the high school as a high school teacher for 13 years. First as a social studies teacher, then as a math teacher, and then as a special ed teacher. The next step for me was to go into the superintendent's office. We only had the superintendent, the business administrator, and myself. So while I worked in the superintendent's office, I essentially managed all of the different programs that were operating in the district. The Title I program, the special ed programs, the 504 programs. I was the homeless coordinator. I represented the district in juvenile court. So in the year 2000, when Franklin finally got money from the from the Claremont lawsuit, almost, from the Claremont lawsuit, the school board decided to divide all of those things up into 4 different positions. And rather than take one of those positions, the superintendent asked me if I would move into the position of principal at our K-2 elementary school, because it was a school that was designated as a school in need of improvement. And she felt that with my experience, I could help them out. And I ended up working in that elementary school for 17 years. And with the help of a great staff that we put together and bringing in a lot of programs, we got rid of the school in need of improvement designation and had 70% of our second graders that were proficient on the state exams. So I feel that with the varied experiences I've had, that I bring a lot to try to help work with the board. Obviously, Tuesday is going to be a very important date for us, depending on how the different votes go. And we'll have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm looking forward with a lot of excitement to working with all of you. Thank you.
If anyone has questions, direct them directly to Mike. Mike will recognize you. Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Wood?
Mr. Hoyt, what are your top priorities in the next year for the board as you see it running for chair?
I think we have already talked as a board that we need to both look at the budget situation. Obviously, we've had several meetings in public meetings as far as looking at what we can do with the lessened amount of funding that we're getting from the state. So looking at the budget would be a big thing. Depending on how the votes go on next Tuesday, obviously that will have a lot of budgetary effect on us going forward. I think also we've talked a lot about the fact that with the division within the district, with the different events that have happened over the last year, we really need to work on getting everybody back together, working together to accomplish what we need to do to make sure that the students are getting the best education possible. So I think those by far are the two big points.
Anyone else with questions? Okay, thank you, Mike. I just put a strong voice in that Mike brings a tremendous amount of experience, and when you're sitting here as chair, having that background knowledge in education is very critical. And he has a great staff surrounding him that will provide a great deal of support in all the other areas, and that's one of the advantages of being a chair, is having great people working with you, and Mike will have that. So I see no reason why he won't be brought forward. I mean, he is the candidate, and there are no other candidates. So I'm assuming he would at least vote for himself. So we're looking at a very positive move here. But I think he'll do a great job, and I'm looking forward to watching you also. Curtis, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Serving on this board for the past year has been an honor and an absolutely worthy challenge. I have learned more in this past year than I have perhaps since the year in which I became a father. I have found myself surrounded by people for whom public service is a way of life. Many of you on this board have served our country and communities for decades. Our teachers and administrators have made this very service their calling, and I want you all to know that I am inspired by the work that you do. We have significant challenges in front of us. I find myself with the energy to continue to do this work. I find myself with the energy to continue to learn at the pace that I've been learning, to continue to learn from each of you, from my community, and from our students as well. If I am elected by my town next week, I would be humbled to serve as vice chair to our board and to continue helping us navigate the challenges and successes we will face. Thanks.
Any question from board members or the audience? Candidates?
Can I just ask the same question? What are your top priorities as vice chair?
Thanks, John. I've been fortunate to have already had a number of conversations with Mike. I agree completely with his priorities. I would also add that I will be learning as best I can from him and as to how to holistically manage this very complex puzzle we have in front of us.
Other questions? Jim?
Yeah, Curtis, I'm awed with the amount of work that you've put in and the level of detail that you've put into your analysis. I think you'll be, from everything I've seen, a great vice chair. I do have one question, and I think it comes into a philosophy of how we present information to the public. And I think it's represented in some ways by the letters we've gotten from Francistown and Dublin at this point are a result of how we presented information to the public. I prefer to present both sides of the story. It's okay to come down and say, given these sets of facts, we think that this set of facts outweighs this set of facts, and this is our preferred direction forward. This is what we recommend. Rather than presenting one side of the set of facts and then selling that to the public. Can you give me any assurance, given kind of the way the communications committee has gone about selling in the past year, that we can take a different approach moving forward?
Thanks, and thank you for the kind words. I've had a number of opportunities to present information to the public since joining the board. Multiple community forums, multiple public hearings. And I believe I've done that. I listen very carefully to your input in particular, because I have a similar respect for the nuance you bring to every challenge we face. With regards to withdrawal and the presentation of that information in the community forum, there is no clear way for me or our board to assume and to make the assumptions on behalf of Francistown and Dublin as to how they will go about managing their districts. I've looked carefully at the information that they have compiled. Personally, I don't find it compelling. And I was charged by my committee to present information on behalf of the Conval district. And I believe I did that to the best of my ability.
Thank you. I'm just going to follow up with that and say that when you present information from the board, you don't present as an individual, you represent the board, because things that are sent out from the board. So it's never an individual's opinion if it's coming directly from the board. As individuals, you have every right to express your concerns, separating that comment out from being a board member to you as a citizen. And so what I would say, what comes from the board, not an individual. I've seen a lot of board meetings over the years, and I can personally tell you, I've never been impressed by any single board member more than I have by Curtis Hamilton. The work ethic is unbelievably thorough, competent, and he takes in every ounce of information he can gather. I've not ever seen that before at that level. And I commend you for that, and I think you'll be a great asset for the board to continue. For those of you who are future board members, whatever the vote goes, my counsel to you would be sit back and listen. There's a lot to learn on being on a school board that you don't see, you don't understand, and it's better to sit back, take in the information, give yourself some time to synthesize that information, talk to your colleagues about that information, and then bring your questions forward. Remember, you're here representing the Kentucket Valley School District, not an individual town. And sometimes that's very hard for boards to separate that out. It's very important that you look at your future as a school board, not as an individual member, and to always keep that in the forefront of your decisions. That's the counsel I will give you, and good luck to all of you who are running. If you're unopposed, that's sort of you'll be here. The time commitment is a lot more than you think. Yeah, we sit there and we think, and then you get on board. And we have some new board members who've been on for their first term, and I think they would share with you that there's a lot of time that goes into this. So it's a joyful ride, it's a thoughtful ride, and it's a critical ride at this time in this nation, particularly in this state, and looking at funding public education. It's a great concern I have for all of us. So with that, any other questions for our candidates? I think you have a great group coming forward, and I appreciate both of your comments tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Mike?
I would just like to say one of the things that makes me feel comfortable enough with volunteering to assume this position is having spent the years on the board, the last couple that I have, watching what you've done here with the board. And, you know, I think you've taught me a lot about what I should be doing here, and I'm sure a lot of the others also. So we want to thank you for all of that and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mike. First read, policy. Janine?
Policy, first read for policy EBCH, chemical safety and chemical hygiene plan, and it's basically Conval's plan for storing hazardous materials and a protocol for what to do should there be a problem with any of those materials. But I'm thinking, since this is the last meeting of this board and then we have a new board, we probably have to bring it back for a first read again at the next meeting, because the new members will not have had a chance to review this policy. So we'll probably do it twice.
Well, you know, it'll be out there, so you could say to the new board members, well, you can go online and you can look at the first read once you've been elected, and you can come back knowledgeable with that. So that would be a charge to the new elected board members to go online and look at the policy, take a first read at it. It comes back again for a second read, and that's where the vote takes place. So you can have more discussion there. So that will help you. Policies are one of those things that, believe it or not, takes up a considerable amount of time. And there are so many that have to get reviewed that it's a task that can never end. It's the endless story. When you think you've finished, you just begin again. It never ends. So it's one of the
policies in particular.
yeah, it's a never-ending story. Thank you, Janine. This is another point in our agenda for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to speak to the board, please let me know. Name and town in 2 minutes, John.
I waited till public comment, so I didn't tie up the Q&A with Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Hamilton. John Wood from Dublin. I did want to make a comment regarding the verbiage and the language used over the past 3-4 weeks as it pertains to the budget cap and the withdrawal. Some terms might be gaslighting, or exaggerating, or very biased and one-sided. I think that we have to be careful how and what words we use to the community that gives a skewed view of what might or might not happen, i.e., we're not going to shut all sports down in the school district. I think that's a little above and beyond the normal, what would be expected in a budget crisis situation. I think there are a lot of other levers or dials that could be used that doesn't gaslight the community in different parts and pieces. This is not just from me, but from other community members that know that I'm running for the school board that have come to me and said, I don't understand why they're saying X, Y, and Z. I think we just need to be careful in how we, as Mr. Hoyt said, and one of the reasons I asked the question is bringing the community together in a way that isn't segregating one town from another, but as a community at large. And I really hope that that happens in the future. And my second question you answered during the first Q&A, which was bringing the community together. So thank you for that. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to the board? Okay. So we do not have any non-public that I'm aware of. So I will. What? Oh, okay. Alan asked if he could say something to the board, so please be my guest, Alan.
Sure. I want to thank the school board for the opportunity to work with a great group of people for a common good, common cause, which is the education of our students and the betterment of our community. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm going to miss you guys an awful lot. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. So my parting words for all of you. I've been a public service since 1965 when I worked as a lifeguard at Greenfield State Park. My greatest honor has been being that public service to this nation, to the state, to this district, and to the town of Peterborough. And that's the greatest gift that anyone can receive, is having that opportunity to serve. And I want to thank this group in particular because you have been a joy to work with. That doesn't mean there aren't moments that it's challenging. It is. But people are respectful. They acknowledge what needs to be done, and they work hard to get it done. This is a great board going forward to take us in the right direction, and I believe you'll do that. But I want to thank you personally for being here and serving, and for my being able to serve with you. There's a saying in the military, you always have to have somebody covering your six. And I always felt that that took place here at this board. There was someone that would cover your backside when you needed it. And when you made a mistake, they could speak to you and say, let me help you here. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And I may or may not be watching on TV. Thank you all. Motion to adjourn. Second? Been moved and second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
I had to keep it short because I can't write very well.
Or does it still hold